Hi guys, welcome to Counterpoints or Counterfire, depending on what you want to call me today. And today we're going to be talking about why the Tampon Tim memes didn't last very long at all, and that's because of the Giga Chad memes. So if you like the content, like, share, subscribe, check out everything else on the channel as well. But today we're going to be breaking down how Tim Walz beat the memes. So when Tim Walz first announced his candidacy, he was viewed as a progressive by a healthy chunk of people on the right and was called out for that fact, the nickname being Tampon Tim. The main people calling this out were Megyn Kelly, Chaya Ratchik, who runs Libs of TikTok, and that was viewed as an own.
Tampons to any menstruating student in all bathrooms 4 through 12, and Minnesota believes trans boys menstruate, that they use boys' bathrooms, and those bathrooms must stock up on Tampax.
Now for me, here's just my thing. I'm getting older, but it felt like a boomer meme. That's what it felt like. And Megyn Kelly, she might not be a baby boomer, but she is getting a little bit up there in age. And then same thing with Libs of TikTok. She might be Gen X, but let's face it, she has a boomer mentality. So calling someone Tampon Tim might have worked, I don't know, in the 80s or 90s. It might have been a name that stuck with the local feminine kid, but it doesn't work in the modern era. And that is because of the Giga Chad meme. So what the Democrats did, which would have been my advice, which kind of tells you that they're a little bit more hip with it than some other people, is own your positions. One of the things that has happened in the Trump legacy since Trump became a relevant political figure is you can say obnoxious and terrible things, or you can say really, really good things that are controversial. But as long as you own your positions, then that communicates strength to the audience. And that's what the Democrats and quote unquote Tampon Tim Walz did. They said, hey, yeah, you might be uncomfortable with putting, and I'll give you a little bit of backstory. You might be uncomfortable with giving access to menstrual accessories, but we're not. So pound sand. And as a result, that nickname died almost instantaneously. But let me give you a little bit of backstory. So what happened was Minnesota and the Rust Belt is an interesting place because you have a lot of social conservative folk, people that Trump appealed to based off of what we can call economic anxiety. But you also have people who run typically, typically, they're at least the descendants of blue dog Democrats. They're the descendants of union men who got busted out of their job and then as a result watched their communities crumble. You have cities like Detroit that collapsed. And so as a result, you have all these stereotypical middle class and working class white folk who would typically go for Trump, but also have a Democratic history. And so the reason why Tim Walz does so well in his home state is because he might have a lot of progressive policies, but he still has the vibe of like a old boy, old school country fella, right? Like they've even talked about how he hunts and he has a shotgun and he used to be a member of the NRA and blah, 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 blah. Now that feels like a veneer for me, but for different reasons. Let's get into the menstrual stuff. So it was passed by Tim Walz and a Democratic state Senate or state legislature that they were going to provide access to menstrual accessories for all students. So they were not just going to stock them in the females restroom or in the disabled / gender neutral restroom. They were also going to stock them in the men's. And this created a little bit of a kerfuffle, a culture war kerfuffle, where Republicans were like, what the heck? Trans people are less than a percentage of the population, and on top of that, you're encouraging this culture war baloney where you're using trans people as a cudgel to beat the rest of the country with your progressive values. But they ended up losing, and the bill ended up passing. And so since that time, while it will play to Republicans on the right-hand side about, oh, well, you're encouraging kids to be trans, et cetera, the truth is that people in Minnesota, they don't care. They just don't care. It's a cheap program. It provides necessary things to women, and then it also blocks in a part of the community where the former Democrat mindset is that we're in this together, therefore when you attack one of us, you attack all of us. Something that I actually think is direly missing in the right wing is a sense of fraternal community. So when you hit him with Tampon Tim, what you're really saying is Tim Walz is willing to go against the grain when it comes to what you would stereotypically expect out of his upbringing. He's willing to, in his mind, not necessarily my mind, but in his mind, defend a community not of his own ilk. He's cis to my knowledge. He was born as a man. And that also he's willing to do this against significant criticism from his peers. And so that's all that happened, is the Democrats giga-chatted it, which for those of you who don't know, I'll explain another thing. Internet politics and internet debate politics has a whole bunch of memes associated with it. And with the giga-chat, again, it's the doubling down on an unpopular position to communicate strength to your audience. Because Tim Walz did that, the meme died instantaneously. So my suggestion to Republicans and people who are hoping to actually give Kamala and Tim Walz a run for their money is you need to come up with something else. The meme's largely dead. So if you want to criticize his war record, then you need to go after him on gun control. If you want to criticize him on being too progressive when it comes to trans issues or abortion issues, then you're going to have to make an appeal about why your legislation makes more sense and serves the American people better, rather than just, oh, he's a rabid progressive. That's not going to land because, again, aesthetics are winning this election. So I appreciate it. If you like that content, like, share, subscribe, check us out down below. Catch you in the next one. Bye.